Welcome to Shardcast, the Brandon Sanderson podcast. We're a bunch of mega fans giving you the news, discussion, and of course, a whole lot of opinions about Brandon's works and the Cosmere. I'm Eric, and joining me is Ian.
Hey, I'm your writer.
Also joining us is Jessie.
Hello, I'm Lady Lameness.
Also joining us is Alla.
Hello, I'm Rasarr.
Hello. And today what we're going to be talking about is Cytonic. Oh, I'm flipped. Right. We're talking about Cytonic, which is the latest Brandon Sanderson book, the third book in the Cytoverse series. Now I gotta flip myself back. And also, I have for show and tell the Doomslug plushie, which is very cute.
We got a Doomslug.
Which is brighter due to these studio lights, but that's okay. But it is very, very cute and quite large, really. So
yeah, it is far larger than I thought it would be.
I like
just
it.
The
Yeah,
photos.
this is a good size and is completely adorable.
It's longer than I thought, because I've seen the pictures of the front. I was like, okay, I know the size, and then it came, and it's like this long.
Yeah.
I wasn't expecting that.
Yeah.
I was kind of expecting round, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Cool. So, do note, these are just our opinions, right? In this. So, some are going to be positive, some are going to be negative, and that is okay. You're just listening to us talk about our feels, and it is perfectly fine if you disagree. In fact, put in the comments below what you thought of Cytonic. We'll just do this part right now. So let's start with some spoiler-free reactions, and of course we will get into spoilers and details. But let's start with some spoiler-free reactions. I guess I'll just say that, as you maybe saw from my review, I said that the book would be quite divisive, though I actually said divisive, and a lot of people were like, that's not how you say that word. So, noted.
Your pronunciation of divisive was divisive?
Yes, it was. It very much was. So, Ian, what did you think?
I liked the book. It has all of the things that I would expect from a sequel to Skyward, based on my personal reading of Skyward and what made that book great. And I also think people on the staff think I like the book more than I actually do.
Okay.
I like the book.
Okay.
It is not Rhythm of War, Bands of Mourning, Book of My Soul.
Okay.
It's just it's good. I liked it. I had fun.
Okay. Jess, what did you think of the book?
So I'm on the opposite end of the spectrum to Ian, and this is probably my most disliked Brandon book ever. Mm-hmm. I did not like this book very much, and a lot of it comes down to I dislike the direction Brandon has gone, and it disappoints me. I do have issues with specific things in this book as well, but overall, I really dislike this book quite a lot. A lot.
Alla, what do you think?
Well, I'm right in the middle, I guess. I have mixed opinion of it. I thought the first half was very meh, and I had a hard time getting into it. But once I did get into it, in the second half, I enjoyed it a lot. I still feel it works than Skyward, but I like it a lot more than Starsight.
Cool. I am also of the opinion that I like the book. I don't love the book. It's fine. That's very interesting that you're like, oh, the second half is where the book picked up. Whereas I'm like, I think one of the issues that one could have is that I think you could argue that the book is somewhat of a side quest. And then the second half has a side quest within that side quest. And so now, so I liked the book. I thought the ending was fantastic. I thought the book lacked tension, which, remembering back from Skyward, that the tension was so key to that book, where every flight, every time they took off, I was worried someone would die. And that has not persisted in either sequel, really. Like, you don't feel that sense of dread almost ever, except at the ending in this book.
I would agree with that. I thought the book lacked tension completely until the end. Oh, actually, no, there was a couple of points throughout, but, like, largely lacked tension. And, like, every book in the series has just, like, been a step down in the stakes.
I hope Defiant will be a step up. I am very excited for Defiant.
I'm excited for Defiant.
Very
I think
excited.
Defiant's going to be great.
Like, in my opinion, it's like, I just think the stakes are different in this book. It's not like that yes, we're not worried about, like, people dying. We're worried about other things happening to our characters.
Yeah, I feel like the problem, I guess, well, maybe not a problem, but an issue of the series that every book has a very different vibe and very different stakes.
Yes.
So, and because there's this switch happening every book, like,
it's
for
weird.
example, here the conflict in Cytonic is more like internal than external, I feel.
Right.
So, I would say Cytonic is a very character-focused book instead of a plot-focused book. Like, this plot's still there, but the main takeaway I got from Cytonic was the plot arcs of their main characters.
Yeah, and I feel like this, like, changing, like, vibe and feel of the stakes of the book might be what's causing a lot of the... Like, for me, I definitely feel like that's what caused a lot of my initial, like, meh, I don't really care feeling when I was starting to read the book.
I think the other thing with this book is it depends on your expectations going in, and I know this is what got me. If you're expecting a Spencer M. Butt-led adventure, you're going to get that. If you wanted more of the other characters that we have met and that we had from Skyward, go read the novellas first. You'll feel much better about everything.
You really, yes, absolutely.
I think the novellas do a lot to temper the fact that Cytonic is entirely a Spencer Embott story, and having them at the same time, you can get both. It's not like you're just getting one, and I think that really, really helps.
Yeah.
I do feel like I would have liked this book less if there wasn't the novellas, because I remember how I felt with Starsight, where I felt like, you know, where are all those characters I liked? Give them back, Brandon. Yeah. And so now I got my fix of the Skyward crew before Cytonic, so I do feel like I feel less need to have them in Cytonic.
Yeah, and it's, I guess part of it is that I did not reread Skyward or Starsight before starting Cytonic. Like, I just went into Cytonic, not clean. I'm trying to think of a word, fresh. Let's say, and like, but also with Starsight, I didn't have the issue that a lot of other people had, where they missed the Skyward flight characters. Because, like, for me, Skyward is a Spencer Embott story. It just so happens that there are some fun side characters, like, but they were always just that. They were side characters. They were, like, not core to what I enjoyed about the story. So when they didn't show up later, I'm like, okay, I'm still getting what I liked from Skyward.
I think my issue, and like, I don't have big issues with the book because I'm like, oh, that was fun. Definitely bolstered by the novellas, because I really like the novellas, getting that banter. I think a structural problem with the series is when you're getting a totally different cast of side characters in every single book, I am getting conditioned to care about them less as I go on in the series, because I'm like, I did enjoy the side characters in this book. Are they going to matter in the next book? I totally doubt it, and so I don't know if I need to care.
I think I did enjoy the side characters in this book more than Starsight, and it might have been because I went in with the idea of these are one-book characters. I won't get attached to them, but I can still enjoy them. But overall, I just like them more as characters than the Starsight crew.
Yeah.
Yeah, for me, like, I definitely had problems, like, getting attached to any of the new characters, precisely because I was already, like, I guess trained is the right word. I was already trained by Starsight to expect everyone to just go poof away the moment the book ends.
Yeah, and I think that's just a structural issue with the way the series has been done, I think. Like, Brandon is training us to not care about the side characters because only Spencer and Mbot matter, and you just won't see any other characters.
Yeah, and I definitely 100% get people who are, like, here for the Spencer and Mbot story, because they are the main characters.
Yeah.
But I always more enjoyed the ensemble nature of it. Like, actually, like, my favorite character in this series is Jorgen, not Spencer.
Oh, you're going to enjoy it for sure, aren't you?
Oh, 100%. I am so ready for Evershore.
And it's like, I think this was a surprise to Brandon. I don't think he expected or necessarily intended for the side characters of Skyward to become such a focus for the fandom, which is why it's like with like Starsight, it ended up being Spencer alone, and then Cytonic was always planned to be Spencer alone.
Right.
He's like, okay, it's like people really like the Skyward characters. I hadn't been planning for them to be such a focus. I need to do something for those people, which is why, and like, in my opinion, the novellas are more important for Defiant than they are for Cytonic.
Yes, for sure.
It's like you don't need you don't need the novellas to make this book make sense, like, or satisfying. It's like you need. I'm pretty sure you're going to need them for Defiant to make sense.
Yeah.
It's like these are really two parallel stories that are both required for the next book, but they're not required for each other.
Yeah, which is weird how they're occurring at the same time.
But the other thing is that the series was originally a trilogy, not a quadrilogy. And it makes me wonder whether everything with Cytonic and the novellas is what Brandon felt he had to put in and make a fourth book. And maybe he originally planned to put some of this in Defiant and then realized that he couldn't put it all in and have the rest of the book. So he's pulled it all out to make an entire separate thing. That's not just one book.
Like, I'd have to go back and like reread like the words of Brandon from that time. It's like, when did he like make the switch between this is a trilogy to this is a quadrilogy?
It was
like
pretty
usually,
quickly after Starsight.
Was it after Starsight or was it
after Skyward?
After Starsight.
I thought it was after Skyward that Brandon.
Oh, I thought it was after Starsight.
I thought like as soon as Skyward was done, he's like, okay, now let's outline the rest of the series.
Yeah, because that's what he usually does. He'll write the first book and like intending it to be a trilogy, and then like he'll get to that point, outline the rest of the series. It's like, oh wait, I need more space for this story.
Yeah,
and so, which like, and then he'll go back to revise Skyward, the first book, to make it all make sense. So it's like the whole, yes, it was originally planned as a trilogy, but it was before like the series really started.
Before it was really concrete. Like he probably didn't have that much. Like he knew like the very broad strokes, presumably, like with the eyes and stuff and plans, but not like concrete book ideas, right?
And the novellas, they must have been pulled out later because he was planning the dual viewpoints in Cytonic that he took out.
Yeah.
Personally, I think that dual viewpoints would have worked better in this book.
Honestly, same.
It's hard to say without having them, because like I feel like they could have worked, but it would have been a very, very different book.
Yes. And
there would have been a lot less than we get in the novellas as well.
Yeah, right, exactly. So it probably was a decision to make the novellas a fully fleshed out thing, right?
Flesh out those stories.
Yeah, which which is not a bad choice. Let's maybe get it. Let's maybe get into some spoilers, because I feel like we need some concrete, actual details to talk about what we're actually talking about, rather than being vague land. I think the problem that I had was that the interludes were probably some of the most interesting parts of the book, where we actually get some Spencer Jorgen interaction. And I'm like, wow, I really miss them interacting. And that's why I like just have like, yeah, I do miss that. And certainly with Skyward, that helps to have the novellas to bolster that, right?
Which, that's part of the book that I like, that like we didn't get as much Jorgen and Spencer, because that is the tension for me. It's like she is at risk, like she is forgetting like her life, like the people she loves. So it's like, so if we had like Jorgen all over the place, it's just like, well, like he's still there.
That's true.
It's like,
yeah.
So it's like we only get those like tiny bits.
Sure.
They make the threat of like she could just forget him, like she could just adventure in the nowhere for forever and be happy doing it. But she would forget everyone she loved.
So for me, I guess the Jorgen interludes didn't really work, mostly because I'm not really sold on their relationship.
Sure.
Like Starsight did so little to build it up.
It's true. It's true.
Like literally like 3 sentences to build up the relationship.
And then they're gone.
So when they met in the dream astral projection thingy, I was like, this is like very sudden. Because I did not get the feeling, because I have talked about it with some other people, and they said that they absolutely got the romantic build-up feeling from Skyward. So for them, Starsight was just a brief bump in it, and then it's back to the standard with Cytonic. But I didn't really get the romantic build-up in Skyward. So Starsight was like, in Starsight, it felt like obligatory. This is YA, so we have to have this straight romance between the MC and a guy here.
Yeah.
So Cytonic, I just did not. The scenes with Jorgen felt weird to me. Like I like him, I like that I got some look at like what he's up to, but it's just the relationship between him and Spencer just so does not work out for me completely.
I think there is a mention at some point that there are a few more interactions they have. We just don't see them on screen. And it would have been nice to see some more, I think. If there were more interactions, it would have been nice to see a little bit more of those. But that's hard if you're containing them to interludes. Yeah. And there's only so many interludes you have and so much you can do with an interlude. So it is what it is.
But Jess, you were always sold with Spencer Jorgen. That's a pair.
Oh yeah, I was definitely always sold with Spencer Jorgen since like Skyward, and the scene with like where they go out to find Hal's body, and even before that where they're like in the hangar together and Spencer's just like confiding in him. I'm like, this is gonna happen. I know this is gonna happen. I can see it. I'm just waiting for it to happen.
Classic enemies to lovers.
Oh my gosh, yes. Like it was almost like, I know it's actual fiction, but it's like fan fiction inside fiction right there. Like it's just like such a fan fiction setup for a relationship.
Yeah, it's like the instant like Jorgen shows up for the first time and she calls him jerk face. I'm like,
yeah, and you're like, okay,
this is going to be a romance.
Yeah.
I'm definitely with Alla that I didn't get the romantic vibes in Skyward, so Starsight was kind of weird. I would personally say that their banter in the interludes was 10 out of 10. Like, I really liked that, but I can totally see where someone could get that. Oh, I didn't really get the romance, so it doesn't work. Like, I can totally understand that.
Yeah, because there's so little in Starsight, and
there
like
is.
that makes a lot of sense. It's like, hey, cool. There's like maybe one scene of vague thing, and then they kiss, and then she leaves. And that's it.
Yeah, the problem with Starsight was also that she never really thinks about Jorgen after she leaves for...
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
For Starsight, so it just comes across as just out of the blue. She kissed him, now let's put this romance plot to bed for another 500 pages.
On the back burner now.
Yeah.
I got other stuff.
To be honest, I will say when I did so like the first interaction, I was like, oh, here comes the obligatory love interest back in Skyward. So I guess when they started later, when they started later interacting, I was just not getting the romance building vibes. I was super hyped for them to be just friends because that's so rare in fiction, and because like that's something that will more appealing to me. I mean, we don't have to get into it.
So I have a problem that starts at the beginning of the book.
Okay.
And it makes me really mad that this doesn't get resolved nicely. So at the end of Starsight, we are left with this conflict between Spencer and Ember because Spencer left him behind, and he is upset about this. And they go into the nowhere, and like Ember wants to have the conversation right there, and they can't because they are stuck in a jungle. But this is never resolved properly. He just forgives her, and that's it. And it's like the next chapter, and it was this giant conflict we were left with, and then it was just like it's like we have to stop, like we have to get past this because we've got other things to do.
Remember when we did the Cytonic predictions that it was a big deal? It wasn't a big deal in the book.
Yeah, and like I feel it does get touched on, like because he forgives her, because logically he understands like she wasn't a difficult position. It's like she didn't want to leave him behind, but she needed to leave him behind. And so like his AI machine brain is like, logically this makes sense. And then there is a scene later on in the book where he's like, I understand why you did it. I'm still angry and I don't want to be, but I am. And they do have a conversation about that. It's just like,
in the conversation,
like
Spencer makes it Mbot's fault and keeps pushing this, like, oh, you need to figure out how to get past this. Like, she never properly apologizes to him.
She does apologize.
No, I don't think that's a good apology.
I'm pretty sure,
that was a bad apology. She does apologize, and I think it is a really crappy apology. She apologizes better to Chet when she talks to him about what she does at the pirate base. She gives him a better apology than she gives
true.
That is true. But like, also, it's like she wasn't wrong to do what she did. It's like, yes, she should have given a better apology, but it's like, so like, I guess it's like that whole plot line is just like it could have been better, but it wasn't functionally wrong for me, I guess.
I guess for me, you didn't really mind that the apology was so half-assed because I was so glad we resolved this so quickly because early on in the book, Mbot was the most annoying character to me, like in the first part of the book.
Oh, yeah.
Like his constant desire to like have this conversation in the worst possible moment. Mm-hmm. And to be honest, I never really felt like he was in the right to be angry because he's a military machine. He should damn well know that he is, how military life works, so those sort of missions can go. So it felt, to me, Mbot felt just annoying and selfish in those early parts. So I was just glad that we left that plot point behind, never to return to it.
Yeah, you really didn't like the beginning, Ala.
No, I was so scared early on that Mbot would just be like this for the rest of the story. Because I really liked him in the previous two books. So I didn't want him to suddenly get just terrible characterified, at least for me.
He's like Spencer in the first book, where everyone's like, oh my god, I can't stand Spencer. I don't know if I want to finish this book. And it's like, no, keep going. It gets okay. It gets better.
Kinda, yeah. Like I said, I was so glad they dropped this plot point quickly because he was just infuriating.
And I think that's the whole point of Mbot's character arc as well. Like, once you get to the end, looking back on it, it's like, oh, it makes sense that he would immediately accept her apology at the time because he doesn't understand emotions at all and is just still trying to rapidly go through things. And he's super annoying because he doesn't understand emotions and rapidly go through things. But having to get to the end to fully understand the beginning bugs me. Yeah. Like, really bugs me because reading it the second time, then it would make more sense. But I want it to make sense the first time as well and not just be annoying like that.
Yeah, for me, I guess the problem was also whenever... It's not just that he was like being annoying, it was just when he started talking, the plot and the action just kind of ground to a halt for me. Like we can't move on with what's happening in the plot because first we need to have like 10 lines of dialogue between Embot and Spencer. Just to get to the point that's very obviously where we are getting.
See, to me, like, that was such a promise set up at the end of Starsight that I'm like, I kind of care about the plot significantly less than them struggling. And so I can definitely understand where Jess is like, that what Embot just forgives her, and then we don't really talk about it for most of the book. And like, if you listen to our Cytonic predictions episode, we were like, this is gonna be a big deal. Was not a big deal at all, really, in the book. Although I did like how it was touched on in the ending, with Embot leaving Spencer behind. Like, that was nice. I did like that a lot. Like, I didn't mind it again, but I'm just like, I can see where that critique comes from.
Yeah, to be honest, I was already like not very thrilled about Embot being so annoyed at the end of Starsight.
Sure. Okay.
So yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of things that might make sense more on a reread, Shannon did want to be on the show. We actually had several cast members who wanted to be on, but who got sick, not with COVID. Shannon was one of them, and I need to just say that Shannon hated Chet. She hated the I'm Nigel from Jumanji, basically, and I'm an NPC who just says things. And
the older mustachioed English adventurer is a trope she hates.
And she just hated how he didn't like have any character, and that was his entire character until we learn, that he's a Delver, and which I thought was very cool.
No, and then it all makes sense, just like with Embot, that you just look back and, it all makes sense that he's two-dimensional because he doesn't understand how to be a person. Just have to get to the end to really understand that.
I would say Chet was my favorite of the new characters,
that's
from
good.
the get-go.
Well, that is good. Yeah, like, it never really felt like two-dimensional to me. Like, maybe in the very first scene when he and Spencer are fleeing from the pirates, but, like, afterwards, like, he was already like interesting when he and Spencer were separating, and he like confessed to her that he's kind of faking it. Yeah.
Like, reading those scenes, like, I went back and reread some of those scenes, knowing that he was a Delver, and they just make perfect sense. In the way that he is a Delver, and he's talking about being a Delver without saying it. Like that was written really well.
Yeah, I really enjoyed Chet throughout, and I was so annoyed at the end of the book when he and Spencer merged, because like, this is the one character that got introduced here that that I liked, and now he got ate by Spencer.
That is really funny. Sorry, I just wanted to bring up Shannon's comment because, like, literally she hates Chet so much that she doesn't like the book because of it. Like, she loves Spencer Embot. Like, it completely ruined the entire book for her. I did like Chet as well. I mean, at least on the plus side, at least we will, see Chet's influence on the next book. So, improvement.
I wonder how much he's still there.
The last chapter didn't really give me that impression. Like, it definitely felt like Spencer was holding the wheel 100%.
Yeah, I don't really know how this is. I have no idea how this is actually going to play out in practice.
Yeah, the mechanics of this are up for debate.
it really just felt like she ate him for a power boost.
Oh, that's hilarious.
I was just thinking of Avengers where like Doctor Strange is just like, that's the one way that it works.
Gotta eat it. Now that does Chet does remind me. We can talk more about Chet, but the Delvers, I am so pleased that Brandon redeemed the part that I hated from Starsight the most, in that it was Like, the Delvers just didn't feel like a threat because it was so easy that the Delver didn't do any damage to at the end of Starsight at all. And I'm just like, I can't take this really seriously. Brandon dealt with that really well. The Delvers were still a threat. The Delvers were probably the best part of the book, like whenever the Delvers were doing something. And with the ending, like, I really liked that. And I really liked that the Delver that Spencer touched at the end of Starsight, which was Chet, like, that mattered a lot. So that's really good. I really liked that. And so that's good because I was really upset about that. That I really hated it, was completely deflated. I'm like, I don't know how interested I am in the rest of the series. That level of hating it.
Yeah. And yeah, it's like the opening prologue, chapter 1. I did feel somewhat vindicated because we had an argument.
We did have an argument of
Starsight reactions.
We did.
Episode where it's like, oh, like this all like Delvers are gone. They're not going to be an issue anymore. It's like, no, like we solved one Delver. There's still so many more. Yeah. And then it's like, that's exactly what happened at the beginning of this book.
Well, it would be nice to see a Delver actually, cause any damage whatsoever in the somewhere.
Hey, the Delvers caused damage. They threw all the buildings into the nowhere.
I mean, that was cool. That was cool.
That was cool.
That was very cool.
Yeah. And like the Path of Elders was such an interesting storyline, and I loved that bit. I thought that was fantastic, and getting all the lore of Cytonics and the nowhere. And
that was really cool. I felt.
Oh my gosh! Like the last two Path of Elders at the base, and the big wall, and like getting the stuff with Jason, and like finding out about like, the origin of the Delvers was so good.
I will say, like, I really love the Delvers and I love the Path of Elders up until that final, like, reveal of what the Delvers actually are.
Oh, really? Interesting.
Which was, it's not that I dislike it. It was hilarious. I laughed my ass off because how many times is Brandon going to use the dead wife as a plot point in a story?
That's true.
Like,
That's true.
This is like the third time a dead wife has a major impact on the story. And I think like defending Elysium spoilers are fine here, right?
Yeah, I mean, we have to talk about it. We have to talk about it.
Yeah.
Jason writes a defending Elysium character.
Yeah, I know she gets a name in Defending Elysium, Lana.
Yeah.
But like even like in Cytonic, she didn't even get the name.
Yeah.
And it's just like, oh, it's actually just thousands of dead wives are the Delvers. It's just
I didn't think we called that one. But I thought it was really interesting how that was dealt with like, oh, the AIs are becoming more aware, and then they just their pain was so great. Like, I thought that was really cool, honestly.
But to be honest, like the more I think about it, like there's also this small, not so small issue that one of our protagonists has essentially doomed humanity. Because the reason Delvers exist is because Jason really wanted his wife back just as an AI. And the reason humanity is on the brink right now is partially because during the Second War they summoned Delvers. So the Jason Wright basically caused a collapse of entire intergalactic society's way of living and functioning, probably led to wiping out multiple star systems and killed untold billions of people because he was sad because his wife died.
Mm-hmm. Well, at least in this case, the robot who became self-aware was sad that Jason died, so it is slightly different.
So technically, it's the dead wife is sad about the dead husband.
It's true. That's true.
Technically, but then are the Delvers still the dead wife if they deleted all memories?
No, I would no, yeah, they wouldn't be, right?
It feels like this is like the third time where a dead wife caused the living husband to cause some, very bad things in a Brandon story, and this is just such a trope. I couldn't help but laugh at that. And also it kind of makes Jason Wright an accidental mass murderer just by proxy. So that's a bit awkward.
Yeah, but like,
He didn't kill the people.
He didn't
But
kill
he
the
caused
people.
it.
He started a chain of events that resulted in the death of many people. That's
Yeah, it's kind of like-
manslaughter, not murder.
The
Great.
world's greatest manslaughterer. And probably the
Welcome to
deadliest
Shardcast.
result of dead wife in a Brandon story.
I'm just saying, I don't think we can blame Jason for the robots being sad that Jason died. I don't know. I don't feel like we can pin that blame on Jason because it's the robots who did it.
No, but I can blame Brandon for using the exact
Yes,
same plot
yes,
point for
yeah,
the third time.
That you can do for sure.
Yes.
Yes.
It
And-
is one of his favorites from the looks of it.
Yeah,
That and
This is-
Resurrections.
this is kind of worrisome, to be honest, but okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Also, like, technically, you could blame him because if he wasn't sad about his wife's death, the robots never would have gotten the chance to become sentient in
Yeah.
the first place.
I
Yeah.
guess I'm just like Jason didn't know bringing the AIs into the nowhere would make them self-aware. Like he had no information on that.
I
No,
believe
that's
that's
explicitly what he was
That
trying
that
to
was
do.
what
Oh,
he
no,
was
it
trying
was.
to do.
Okay,
that's
okay.
precisely
Okay.
that's precisely why he
Oh,
He just
right.
didn't plan on dying right after it
Okay.
happened.
Okay. Fair.
And the scene at Shorehold where they find that out, it's just heartbreaking when they're watching this and Jason's going on about why isn't this working, and then there's just Chet there and Chet's just like, Jason just didn't understand that it took longer than he thought. And then of course we learn the Chet reveal, and I was like, oh my gosh, you're killing me, that's so sad.
Yeah, that is really sad.
Yeah, I admit I wasn't really feeling like the sadness or the heartbreak of it at all, because I was just laughing at Brandon using the dead wife again.
Sure. I wonder how well this works for people who haven't read Defending Elysium.
I haven't read Defending Elysium and I thought it was completely fine.
Okay, cool.
I know what happens in it, but I haven't actually read it. So, yeah.
Like, I knew the name Jason Wright, and I think that might matter, but, like, I know nothing about him at all.
I'm just happy we finally saw Tanasi, because the Tanasi were mentioned in Defending Elysium, and we never saw them, and they were name dropped in Starsight. We finally saw one. We know what they're like. Oh, I'm excited.
Yeah. Which
That's super cool.
They were very
I do kind of want to address a couple things that have been brought up.
okay.
Right.
Yep.
Which is like the Path of Elders. Like I really liked this whole arc sequence.
Yeah.
But I want to respond to the point you made about this all feeling like a side quest,
Uh-huh.
which I categorically reject. Like this was a necessary part of Spence's journey, because like this, to make a couple Star Wars references,
Uh-huh.
this is Luke's trip to Dagobah,
Okay.
and this is Rey's trip to whatever that planet is on that Luke
Yeah.
hid out on for decades.
Right.
It's getting in tune with like the Force or Cytonics, and like getting into the spirituality and becoming a more powerful Cytonic. So I think this was necessary. I don't view this as a side story.
I do agree that it is necessary. Those Star Wars movies would not be very interesting if that was the only thing in the movie, though. Right? Like, it needs other things happening in the world, and we don't see them because those are in the novellas. Right?
The way that I've been thinking about it is Starsight set up this big galactic empire that was now going to cause major problems because there had been this coup, and now we had a big war, and then this story has nothing to do with that. And I think that the story is still necessary. It's just, I think the overarching story that Brandon set up is not this one. And so that's why, to me, this feels like the side quest, because it's not this big overarching galactic war that goes down the path of the novellas instead. And those feel more like this is the story that's being told. And then Spencer still needs to do this, but she also needs the story to catch up to where she needs to be as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. The Star Wars comparison is pretty apt, actually. Like,
Yeah,
if we
it's true.
compare, like, the novellas and Cytonic to, like, The Empire Strikes Back, which I hope I won't spoil this movie for you all.
I think it's okay.
Like, the Spencer parts are, like, Luke on Dagobah, whilst
Right.
novellas are Han and Leia.
Right. That's why, like, this imaginary novel that doesn't exist of dual viewpoints is like, that does sound really good, except, like, we would obviously get a lot less than what we do in the novellas, right?
Yeah.
Which, like, and so, like, the hypothetical, like, Star Wars movie that is just Luke's trip to Dagobah would also be very different. And,
Yes.
could be a satisfying arc.
I guess I don't have issue with Spencer going in the nowhere, because I do feel the Path of Elders stuff was very good and very important. No question. And the ending was great. It's really the other side quest that's in this book that's like, but why are we dealing so much with pirates? like, so it's interesting, Alla, that you're like, oh, the second half of the book was where it got better for you. Because to me, I'm like, I can definitely see why someone would be like, here's the new cast of characters that we don't necessarily need to care about because all the other flights haven't mattered in the next books, and we're just dealing with pirate stuff that, like, it's like, I don't know. That's it's not the overall side quest, it's the side quest within the side quest that I'm like, that was an interesting choice that I didn't see coming, to be honest. I didn't mind the pirate stuff. I think the read was fairly fast, but I feel like this whole pirate stuff would not have been in the book if it was the dual viewpoint book, and it almost feels a bit like padding, because I'm not sure we're going to ever see these people ever again.
It's interesting that you don't like this side quest. Inside the side quest, that's not a side quest, because it's like, it's the actual only part of the book that ties in with the greater, like, plot thread. Because, like,
because they're actually fighting the superiority.
Yeah, it's like they're fighting the superiority. They're like taking out one of, like, the largest mine of Acclivity Stone. Like, I do think that's going to be important for the final book. Defiant.
Yeah.
And I actually think in Defiant, my hope is that all of these side characters that have been so far, like, dismissed are going to come back.
That would be nice.
Avengers style team up.
That would be great. I would love that. It's just, I'm a bit skeptical is all, because we've had two sequels.
We'll just get a fourth crew in
That's where we get
then
the
hopefully
Delvers
everyone else
school.
joins them. And it's a big party.
Yeah, for me, I guess, like, the reason why for me the second half worked better is because, one, we're actually doing something with superiority.
Sure, that's fair.
And second, it was giving me all the world building I wanted about, like, superiority and the races they're in, like the tenacity.
Yeah.
And stuff like deepening, like, superiority. Like, one of my favorite, like, new world building details is how I think it's during the pirate conversation, how Maxim describes how his, like, alien handlers were trying to use those weird techniques to get him to, not be aggressive.
Right.
And how one of the other aliens, I think that was Peg, or one of them anyway, said that, like, superiority, the people in superiority are so obsessed with this non-aggression that they pay, like, heavy money and use various, like, quack treatments to make sure their children are not aggressive.
That was very cool, and I did really like that world building. I'm just not sure why we needed a big pirate politicking part. I guess that's the part that I like. We have to unite all the pirates to go fight this. Like, couldn't we have just fought it without the uniting the pirate factions? Like, to me, that part of, like, getting all the factions together, like, thankfully it was very short on us uniting them, but I'm like,
it was very breezy, so I did not mind it at all.
The fourth flight is the friends we made along the way.
That's true. Yes, indeed.
This is true.
Which is what I'm hoping it actually is.
Look, I would love for Brandon to bring it together, and hey, he redeemed the Delvers for me, so I hope that would be true. At the very least, we are getting Spencer with the Skyward peeps again. Like, no question. Like, she is actually back with Jorgen and things, right? Like, that is fantastic, right?
And she swooned. She hates it,
She
but she
swooned.
That's good.
That was adorable.
Yes. Yeah, so it is easy to breeze through it. I'm just like, I don't know why we needed to deal with pirate politicking.
For me, pirate politicking also worked because, like, we know Spencer's, a good pilot and all that, but we did need, if they were like, if she just show up there and everyone was like, yeah, you're a great pirate. Welcome to the crew. Let's go beat up superiority. So I did feel like we needed something to bridge from Spencer as a newcomer and to like prove to the other pirates that she's a good pilot worth following.
Sure.
So for me, in this sense, that part was like necessary to get from A to B.
Speaking of pirate champions, Jess, I think you have some thoughts regarding Hesho. Perhaps.
So I would like to preface this by saying I don't dislike Hesho as a character, but I wish he had stayed dead. I liked him as a character in Starsight. He was a good character. He was the only death in Starsight. He was the only stakes we had in Starsight. And that got taken away when he was brought back. And I was so mad.
You guys have no idea just how bad Jess was. I can never properly explain to
why
you.
Why couldn't it have been someone else who was the pirate champion, who was from the Starsight crew, who was still alive? Why could it have not been someone else? And I think the way that Hesho got out of dying, like, I don't like it because it is based on an omission more than deliberate, like something deliberate. It's based on a mission, and I don't like that a lot. That feels like the most, well, technically, he can live by these means. And just, I'm just very mad that Starsight lost the death that it had. And this goes back to what we were talking about before, about how the stakes in each book are different. And Skyward set up such a war-based, like, don't get too attached because you don't know who's going to die. And then, to me, that felt like it should follow along. And then it sort of followed into Starsight, but no, never mind. We'll just take that away anyway.
The whole problem, like with stakes and setting up stakes, kind of weirdly reminds me of Game of Thrones of all things. Because Game of Thrones had a similar sort of problem where, they are very trigger happy with killing of characters in early seasons. But the problem is that there comes a point where you kill enough characters that the plot simply cannot work anymore.
Right.
Yep. So that's why the later the story, the more it goes,
the more plot armor people get.
The more plot armor people get. And it feels like Skyward as a series has the same problem, but like accelerated several times. Where like by the, like, I don't know, I guess Brandon feels that by now he cannot kill off more characters because the plot will fall apart. But that aside, I actually was really glad to see Hesho. Like, I will agree with you, Jessie, that the way he just survived is incredibly contrived.
It's very baffling, yeah.
But when it turns out that, Dark Shadow, or however he called himself when he had no memories, was Hesho, I was just so glad that we have someone from the past crew actually showing up.
Yeah.
And to be honest, I did not really care for Hesho in Starsight, but I really liked him here in Cytonic. Like, there's something different about the way he, like, carries himself in this book that I really, really enjoyed.
I really dislike that. I really dislike the character change.
Yeah.
Because in Starsight, I always got the sense of, like, this proud, noble, like, really joyful character. And then he turns up in this book and he's like the darkest edgelord that ever could edgelord.
I love that. I love little edgelord Gabriel.
Oh.
Yeah. I have a question for you, Jessie.
Yes.
Would you have been more open to this if Brandon had hung like a larger lantern on Hesho's death in Starsight? It's like, oh, like we didn't find body.
Oh,
if,
like
that had been
yeah,
up
like
a
put
bit
something
more.
in of like maybe he's not dead. Yeah, I would be more okay with this.
Oh, I
Like,
totally. I agree
still
as well.
Don't
Yeah.
I still don't like things like that, but I think that would have been better in this case than what it was.
Have a little bit more foreshadowing so it actually pays off something
Yeah,
rather
because
than just
what-
being a
yes.
surprise.
What was the line? Like, I never got the impression it's like, oh, Hesho was sucked into a nowhere portal. Like, that was definitely not the impression I got.
I think it's
Yeah.
just Kaori saying, I think it's Hesho's gone. And there might be a description of the ship at one point as having like a giant slash through it. So it's like the implication that Hesho is dead because he was pulled through. But Kaori, I can't remember if she says Hesho's gone or Hesho's dead. But the omission was like we didn't see the body. So he was pulled through this scrape in the ship and into the nowhere.
No.
And that's how he survived.
Kari says, we sustained great losses. Lord Hesho is dead. That's not like he's gone. Like, if he just said he's gone.
Maybe it's in Cytonic that's the explanation of like he was pulled through a gash in the ship and straight into the nowhere.
Like, sure, but I can very much understand what you're saying.
I wish there had been more foreshadowing. I everything you said, Ian. I wish there had been more foreshadowing, more couching that this might have happened. Because that wording is pretty definitive.
It is
to me.
super definitive.
Yeah,
That,
when they say like so and so is dead, it's just like we're assuming they have a body. And when like no, they didn't, and like that's an important like distinction. Because if we knew like there's no body, instant genre savviness, it's like he's probably not dead. We don't believe someone's dead unless we see a body.
Yeah, and all it needs is like a line of he was like he disappeared out the side of the ship, like he was pulled away, like something to indicate they don't have the body. Like all we needed was a single line.
You know, I almost wonder if Hesho being the one who shows up, who turns up as the pirate champion, is something Brandon has decided only after he was already writing Cytonic.
Maybe.
Because
that's what it feels
you have
like.
Several people in that group. Like it could have been Moriumor, it could have been Vapor. Who
I thought it was going to be Vapor, and then it wasn't.
Really cool.
That would have been really cool because it was. I don't know. I got the sense from Starsight that she was going to be important, or at least come back.
Yeah, same.
She better be
I
in
think
Defiant because Figments are important, and there's weird crap happening with them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was also like when first mention of Pirate Champion, my first thought went to Vapor, and then when Spencer mentioned that the ship looked unusually small, I was like,
right.
Yep, that's Hesho. That's
right.
Tiny ships. It's the Garbles.
Yeah, I do want to touch on Vapor. Reading this book, I can't help but wonder if there's a connection between the Figments and not necessarily the Delvers, but things like the Delvers, like that ancient beast. Because,
I would agree with you there.
Because the whole like Figment thing is they can like hijack like technology. I don't understand how that works for a sapient smell. Like,
because
sapient smell is very confusing, like to begin with. But like the like cut technology component, like it makes sense. Like a disembodied AI. I don't know where Scent comes into it, but
I think in Starsight, Spencer asks Vapor whether she's similar to an AI or something along those lines, and Vapor is not happy with that question and like kind of defensive with her answer.
Because it's like in the book, like the ancient beast that was defeated by like the ancient Cytonics, like they
before the Delvers,
making it become real.
Yeah, what is up with that? Like that the pre-Delver kind of thing? Like what is up with that?
Because it's like ancient civilization. It's like they don't have computers. Like how like did they can't have written an AI computer program.
I mean,
But Jason had to learn it from somewhere. He was trying to replicate something by taking his life AI
Robot.
into the nowhere. Like he referenced that he was trying to follow something that happened before.
Mhm.
Well, my assumption when they were revealing all about this ancient Delver was that because that woman that left a message for the future, she did mention that there was some sort of ancient. I seem to remember she mentioned something about an ancient alien civilization. So my understanding of the like ancient Delver situation was that there was some prior spacefaring civilization that created this AI that became the first Delver and was presumably wiped out by that first Delver. And that Delver became everyone's problem when it started visiting places that, those more primitive Cytonics were visiting. So that was my read on the whole situation.
The other thing is the Taniks, like Doomslug mentions at some point, that the Taniks evolved to hide from the Delvers based off something that was on their planet.
Mhm.
Right. Yeah. That it.
Oh, I never really thought that there could be connection between those two, but because I am still on the train that Taniks were created artificially for a purpose. So that would tail in nicely if Taniks came from the same world that created that first Delver.
Yeah.
Like the actual text, like it doesn't draw a direct causal link between like the thing on their planet and the Delvers explicitly.
Yeah, so we found it. So in Cytonic chapter 42, this is talking about her kind, Doomslug, had evolved to be afraid of a type of creature from her home planet. The Delvers were an even more terrifying version of those. Which is...
So it kind of sounds like there was, like, not a proto-Delver necessarily, but maybe something that was more organic that was similar in some aspects.
Yeah.
Something that could hunt.
Predator.
Yeah. Something that could hunt using cytonic senses.
Yeah.
Sure. That probably can't be the ancient Delver thing that they all fought, but...
No.
But I don't know what that Delver-like entity is. I want to know about that.
I'm still like banking on progenitor of the figments. I think
that would be solid.
Become real.
Yeah. Interesting.
It's just so interesting because this must be pre-First War by who knows how much.
Yeah. Yeah, it must have been, like so long ago that people barely remember it, Yeah,
thousands of years, I think. At least like before Jason.
Yeah,
I think that was like the last time it's like human Cytonics like knew what they were doing. Like all the ones that knew what Cytonics was died.
Yeah.
And then it like just went undiscovered until Jason.
Right.
Maybe, going off the figment theory, if a figment turned into a Delver somehow, then the figment's not able to replicate itself. And that's why there was only one of them. Whereas with the AIs, it was able to replicate itself to create millions of copies.
See, like I was actually thinking like the reverse. It's like that first Delver like entity like was forced to become real and became the first figment.
Ooh.
And so like don't know where it came from like to begin with. Like that's still a huge mystery. But
okay, I was thinking you were saying something else, but that's very interesting.
Yeah. And just for the record, because we were wondering, like, no, we don't know how many thousands of years ago. We do actually have a description from from one of the Path of Elders vision that they are dressed like from the stories of Gilgamesh or something like that. So we are talking like Sumerians. Sumerians, so like 5,000 years ago. My history of Sumer is not very good.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of the first civilizations out there.
Put your comments below if you're an expert on Sumerian civilization.
Yeah. And it's like, I don't necessarily know, like, because like that was the first vision, and it was very much the beginning of like Cytonics. So I don't know how much time between that and the second vision is, because it is like described as being later.
I would just like a very small, like spoiler-free note. I will just add I am very happy that they showed first contact between alien species as happening in those ancient Sumerian times.
Yeah.
Because first of all, it's kind of, it makes me laugh when I think about like ancient aliens. And because there's a lot of people who tie that with Sumer. And second of all, it kind of, I'm glad that first contact did not happen in what to us would be recent history. Because, you know, I think you might recall I had a beef with that in a different situation. So I'm just glad to be confirmed right on this one, that this happened a long, long time ago and not like within my grandparents' lifetime.
Yeah. That is cool. You know, with the Delvers, I think the one piece that I'm kind of missing with the Delvers is sort of how they manifest in the somewhere as they do. Because I'm like, okay, yeah, AI's copy to self, great. Okay, that makes sense. I really liked how they always made the same decision, like that they need to enforce that sameness. I thought that was really, really cool. I don't know how they like manifest as this giant shadow thing that has this dust cloud. I don't know what that has to do with anything. I'm a little confused about that.
There is a sort of explanation, I think, where like the Delver's shell is obviously like they're going off the last thing that they knew physically, which was the AI shell.
Yeah.
And then the dust cloud is like matter that's being drawn to them, I think, which is what creates that. And the reason they throw rocks is because that's what's available to them at the time.
Right. Okay.
It's them flailing around, which they aren't AI anymore. They're Delver-like entities, or Delvers, as the case may be.
Yeah.
I don't know how much explanation there is for that beyond like it's the cool thing Brandon came up with, and it needs to happen.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of stuff in these books that it's just like, how do the Figments attack technology? Now, I do think there is something with Figments, especially with their relationship with humans. I don't know about that Delver-like entity, but I think that's very cool.
Also, the fact that Mbot's original ship had Figment technology in it.
Oh, yeah.
Like, that's never been addressed.
That has to be addressed, I feel like. But there's a lot of things in this where it's like, because it's cool, because this isn't like a super hard SF situation here. And I'm mostly fine with that. I don't know if there will be an explanation for Figments being able to hack into technology, for example. Like, that could just be a same, it's cool, type thing, right?
It's a similar thing with, like, how does it work with resonance? Like, yeah, they can put crystals into things, but how does it actually let them control a ship? So I feel like that's also just take a step back and accept it.
Because resonance are cool. I did really like the resonance. I thought they were pretty cool.
Same. I mean, at some point, this is not a science fiction story. This is science fantasy.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And I am fine with like Figments and Delvers and everything being weird, because at the end of the day, I know we all love to like magic mechanics and breaking it down, but there comes a point where we just have to accept that this is space magic.
Yeah.
Oh, 100%.
The spiritual realm. It's in the spiritual realm, but it's in the nowhere. That's. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Which is,
I do really like how much we get on Cytonics and like the Cytonic powers in this book, and just the expansion of not only what Spencer can do, which I am still a bit confused about what she can do, but the other types of powers that also exist. And one of the ones that I really liked is Chet, of course, tells Spencer that he lived that long in the nowhere as a way to kind of get her to believe it. But it's mentioned later that the actual Chet also had the power of long life. And the powers do seem to be a little bit of everything, but I do like that we're getting more of an explanation of what is involved.
Yeah, I really like all the new powers, and this is very clearly just a send-up of like psychic powers from especially older sci-fi. The one power I did have a problem is like Spencer's like exploding like a star. I just
Her power
completely
of
did not.
being a
explanation.
star. Yeah.
Yeah, I just did not understand. Like this power did not read to me as anything other than just get out of jail free card whenever she needed it.
She's the main character.
It reminds me of Alina from Shadow and Bone with her sun power. It's like, what does the sun power actually do?
It's
I mean,
bright.
at least or we knew that it illuminated stuff and killed the demons. Here's to all the Shadow and Bone fans. Here
Shadow and Bone was really good. I would
It
recommend
is very good.
I love
like
it. Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah. Whereas Spencer's power was basically just resistance to Cytonics, because like she uses it to defend herself from Braid, and she uses it to defend herself from like the Delver takeover of her brain. So I guess her power is basically just pushing other influences away. Like it felt so like undefined as an ability to me.
Yeah.
Like you can see how trouble I have describing it.
Yes.
Yeah, it's like my kind of read on what I think it could be, which I don't. If it is this, I don't think it's explained particularly well. Is that like she's like not necessarily like a source of Cytonic power, but like she can like enhance maybe Cytonic power because like she's radiating out energy because she's a star. So like she might be able to make other Cytonics around her like more powerful, like maybe like enhance their range.
Oh, maybe.
And that so like she can also like boost herself, and it's like she's good at like repelling like Cytonic attacks because like she's just like pushing out energy, and that just naturally pushes away those attacks.
Yeah, I kind of wish that if that is what it is, I kind of wish we showed it at least with Chet, because like I know he's a Delver, so he's like as non-standard as they go when it comes to Cytonics. But yeah, the whole like star power felt very like underexplained to me. It felt like she's basically a Tavern.
I do wonder what powers the Delvers actually have.
Yeah.
Because they obviously can teleport in and out of the nowhere, but it's a bit unclear what else they can do in their Delver form. Like clearly, if they go into like become individualized, then they can do more. And it really felt like Chet just chose whatever powers he wanted, so maybe he could just do whatever he wants. But I'm just interested in like what can the Delvers actually do? Like they're big and scary and they throw things, but what else is there?
Well, they clearly like can manipulate matter. That's been their thing from the get-go, and teleport it around. Like we do know that they could like in somewhere they could like summon meteors, which I guess the question now is if they are actually like creating matter out of nowhere, or if they are tearing chunks out of the belt in the nowhere and teleporting it into somewhere.
Yeah, probably the second one, I would say, is more likely, because at the end of this, at the end of Cytonic, the Delvers were just throwing just random crap, basically.
Yeah,
it's like there's a button. The Delvers have access to all this
stuff that they could only create at the end. They could only create things that had gone through the nowhere.
Yeah,
they couldn't create anything. It had to have gone through like the light burst of the nowhere.
Right.
Yeah, like my question is like where do they get matter for this? Because like clearly they didn't just find 1,000 bodies that looked like Chet somewhere and teleported them around. So I guess I'm just wondering like where.
This might be a thing where we just accept that it happens.
Yeah, I guess it is just space magic
to that.
Yeah,
but they do seem to be able to just bring things into nowhere and bring things into somewhere.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And like have like a major like case of telekinesis.
Yeah.
Or however you're supposed to pronounce that.
Yeah. The Delvers have
obviously immortal
Cytonic stuff. Whatever they need to do. That's
demonic possession.
Yeah, that was very cool. I did enjoy
weird.
that. But that was very weird as well. You know, actually, you know what that reminds me of? That reminds me of the body swapping thing that happened in Defending Elysium.
Yeah.
Oh, that's just freaky.
You know, like that has not been really touched on until maybe this possession sort of thing. But that was a weird plot point in there.
But we do get the explanation for Spencer's dad in this one.
Oh yeah,
of what happened there with the taking over his mind. We do, that is touched on, which is nice.
Yeah. I did like that. I don't remember what they specifically said, but I do remember that was touched on.
Yeah. I would say I really like the demonic possession as an element that was introduced, and I wish they used it more.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, because it shows up. It just set up with that one pirate at the start of the book, and then it only really comes up when Hesho gets possessed briefly.
Yeah.
It does get one more mention. Like there's a Heklo that gets possessed. But it's just like it's on a fragment, like in the distance, like watching them.
Yeah.
Like they need eyes to see through, like to scout out the zone. But yeah, I kind of wish to be honest, I kind of wish we lost even one of the new characters to just Delver possession, just to show how terrifying it can be.
Yeah. You can possess people that aren't main characters.
Yeah.
Oh, and Hesho, I guess.
I would say it did kind of, the whole like demonic possession aspect kind of put me in Warhammer 40k mood. I know I have like 3 moods and one of them is Warhammer 40k. But yeah, I keep trying to call somewhere real space because that's what they call it in Warhammer.
I see. Yeah. Well, I mean, the name Nowhere and Somewhere is not great names, I would say. Yeah. I'm not a fan.
I keep having to correct myself on that. They could be better. Yeah, the Delver possession really reminded me of like demonic possession in 40k, and I really wished we did more of that because demonic possession in 40k is awesome.
It's very haunting, which is probably why I liked the beginning, in a way. Like, I thought that was very interesting, and then it's like, and now here are all the characters. Here are the pirates. Please, love the pirates. And, like, I did like the pirates. It's just, I didn't love the pirates, because I know I'm skeptical they will appear in a dramatic way in the next book, until proven otherwise. But I would love to see these characters matter in the next book. That would help a lot. I want that. One world building element that I really didn't like, that I think makes the book worse, is, and I understand why this is happening, so I wanted to expound on what was in my review. What was the world building element that I didn't like? I don't like that they're not using live ammo. It just really makes it feel like I don't really care about the space combat. Like, I understand why they're doing that, but like, that just made it so I wasn't like, until the Delvers throw, the buildings there, like, the space combat barely matters, really. And Spencer's just really good that, like, I just don't feel any of that tension, which is a big difference from Skyward. And honestly, the novellas had more tension.
And so, like, this, like, I do want to touch on this. Because, like, as we've discussed, the stakes are different in each book. In Skyward, it's life or death. In Starsight, it's don't be discovered. And in this book, it's, like, don't forget those you love. So it's, like, I understand why it's... Because Brandon sets up different stakes, like, he doesn't want to mix and match. It's like, this book's, like, whole, like, setup stakes isn't about life or death. So it makes sense, like, well, if we have, like, this one, like, fight scene where, like, the stakes are life and death, you talk about whiplash, like, that would be whiplash within the book, which I think is worse than whiplash between books. It also, like, goes to, like, supports, like, Spencer, for all of her bravado, isn't actually a bloodthirsty person.
True.
Like, she doesn't want to kill people. And so, like, the idea of this phase where it's like she can fly and, like, in combat without the risk of, like, actually, like, murdering or, like, killing a bunch of people, like, that is part of the allure. It's like, it's the thing she loves, but she doesn't have to kill people. It's somebody on the Discord, I don't remember who, like, compared it to, like, the Nowhere for Spencer is, like, the island of the Lotus Eaters from the Odyssey, where it's like, oh, like this really nice thing that like you want, but then you just get stuck for forever. And so it's like,
Yeah.
I think it being not live ammo supports that.
I've been describing the nowhere as Spencer's fairy tale land or fairy tale because it's everything that she wants and that she really deserves, and the nowhere gives her that.
So, two things. One, we did have a fight scene at the end where the stakes are life or death, so we still get the tonal whiplash.
Yes, but like it's at the end of the book where it's like the rules stop mattering.
Yeah, but
because it's a Brandon book.
Sure. Two, I guess I was just never like super sold with the. I knew Spencer wasn't gonna stay in the nowhere. Like, we all know this, right? Like, why is this a massive conflict? Like, I don't know. Maybe I just didn't buy into that premise as much as I should have. I don't know.
I think that's part of like the willing suspension of disbelief. Like, you have to like for it to work, you have to believe like she might not go back.
Yeah, but I know there's
even
another
though, like,
book.
You know she will.
I know there's another book. So
See, I kind of saw it as like, I know she'll go back. I know which choice she will make, but that doesn't mean watching her struggle to make the choice is any easier. And like, I think all the stuff with the lack of live ammo and being able to fly and being pirate champion, it's really good character development for Spencer. She grows up a lot in this book. And I think part of that growing up is her having to choose the hard choice and to go back. That being said, I am with Eric in that I found it a bit dull to read the fight scenes because I didn't have any investment in them. And as much as I like it overall for Spencer's character development, I didn't like it as scenes and like world building to read.
I would say I did not particularly mind the ammo not being not being deadly in the fight scenes because, like I said, we've reached a point where Brandon just won't kill off more characters because. So for me, like, you know, it doesn't really matter if ammo is live or not. It's not like I'm expecting anyone to actually die in those fights.
But they're one-time characters, one-book characters.
Yeah, I still just. I mean, the same could be said about Starside Crew, and none of them died.
Yeah, well,
not even
one of them died.
Yeah. So I just did not mind all of that being done with fake ammo because one, the stakes were not life or death. It was about Spencer proving herself to the pirates, and two, everyone had plot armor anyway, and live ammo is not going to pierce that.
I guess it's the combo, not just of the live ammo, but just that it feels like Spencer's so much better than every other pilot, except like Hesho, I guess, that I'm like, I'm not super invested in this. Like in the pirate stuff, like what, during the champion battle, like, the most interesting part had nothing to do with the space combat and was more just like those weird, the things where Spencer is hearing from the Delver, right? Like that was the interesting part. And that was interesting. And so I'm just like, I'm glad Spencer is enjoying herself and getting character development, but I didn't love those scenes. They're just fine, I guess. Which is a very stark contrast to novellas when they're doing fight scenes. I always feel worried still, and I haven't felt worried for Spencer flying in a long time, really, until the ending, honestly. Like, that's the only place where I was actually worried.
I really liked in the ending that there was the feeling of frustration because Spencer didn't know how to solve the problem.
Yeah, that was great.
I love that so much. Like, I could feel her like frustration coming through the pages because she was just at a dead end and nothing had worked. And what should she do now? It was very good. I really liked that.
I feel like you have another comment regarding the ending, Jess.
Okay, so I've already been through one character who was resurrected in this book, and I really dislike the resurrection trope. Really, really dislike. And at the end, we get 2 more! We get 2 more resurrections at the end of this goddamn book! And they follow the exact same path as well. One of them I'm much more upset about than the other, because the other I kind of skimmed over and then realized later. But firstly, we get Chet, who sacrifices himself nobly, and it does absolutely nothing to help. But then we get Embot as well, who sacrifices himself nobly, and it kind of does help. But the thing is, the scene with Embot, Brandon convinced me that he was actually going to do, the insane thing of killing off our, second main character in this book. In, the second last book of this series. The way it was written pulled me in, and I was losing myself with this. And even in the scene, Embot talks about how he knows he's gonna die, and even the line of, come back for me, that's just something you say to comfort the person who's about to nobly sacrifice themselves and knows it. And then he doesn't die. Then the next chapter, it's literally the next chapter. We find out a page from each other that Chet's alive and Embot's alive. And it's such a throwaway, oh no, it's fine, he's fine. And anyone who's seen me rant about this on the Discord will know that I kind of find this to be really, it's coddling almost, because Brandon sets it up so we feel the grief. And then immediately goes, shh, it's okay, don't worry, he's fine. Don't you worry, he's fine. We'll just wrap you in a blanket and tell you he's fine. And there's nothing wrong here. Embot's okay, guys. And that is what it felt like to me. I was so angry reading this chapter that I had to go back and reread it because I did not take in anything else in that chapter. And it's kind of a big chapter for things to happen. But I hate that Brandon constantly uses the resurrection trope, constantly uses it. I hate that this is the second time that he has used it for Embot, and both times he has written it to try and get grief out of people. It's not written in a way of, don't worry, we'll come back to this. It's written in a way to get people emotional, and then to bring him back immediately. Just, what was the point in any of this? What was the point in writing it that way? Just write it so people know that he's definitely coming back. Don't do this thing where you go to try and take people's emotions to then just rip them away and say, it's fine, don't worry. I don't like the resurrection trope, and I hate the way that Brandon did this, and this almost ruined the book for me. I know I dislike the book, but this is definitely one of the reasons that it's one of my most disliked books ever from Brandon.
Yeah, it is interesting that you hate the resurrection trope so much, because I feel like it is one of Brandon's favorite tropes.
Yeah, oh yeah,
it is. It is.
What I think we learned with the Cosmere Beefs episode in this book is that Jess is growing more and more annoyed with Brandon using this trope.
Yeah, it gets worse every time. I get more annoyed every time.
And I also confess, when we were leading into this and you were like, there are 2 fake out deaths at the end of this book, and I was like, 2? Who's the second one?
Chet is really easy to miss, I will admit.
Yeah, because it's also I didn't view that as a death. He wasn't going to be killed. They were just going to reset him.
Sure, right.
So the fact that that's what happened is okay, yeah, that's what I was expecting.
Yeah. It's also different than Embot, I think.
Yeah, it's very different from Embot, in my opinion. But also with Embot, when Chet leaves to go do his sacrifice, it's Embot has the line, is oh, that's how you do it. Which instantly in my mind is okay, he's gonna shed his physical form and become a Delver-like entity.
Yeah.
And because it's like
okay,
the reveal
sure.
is like so close back to back that like I didn't have time to grieve Mbot's death. It's just like so it's like oh, like he did the thing like that I was expecting him to do. Awesome.
I had to
Like-
put the book down.
Jess literally
Going
was
to the next
sobbing.
chapter. This
she
might have been the like most emotional death I've had. It's up there with Elika. Like it's that
Yeah,
level
like-
for me.
like-
That's how high it was.
Jess was sobbing, and then when she got to the next chapter, like she's over there reading Fury. She was so mad. This is Jess toned down. Also, I gotta say, Jess Rant's the best. I love you, babe. This is why I married Jess, because her rants 10 out of 10 would listen again. I didn't mind Mbot dying and coming back because I didn't believe that he would die. Like it's again, everyone has plot armor. Until they're like dead, I am just assuming no one is dead.
Yeah, I will have to. I feel a bit bad after hearing about the strong reaction Jessie had, but I never really. Mbot's death never really registered as a death to me, as with the others, because I was like, okay, here we are setting up that Mbot has learned how to corpseify himself, like step out of the physical boundaries. And then we have Mbot saying like, okay, come back to me. So obviously he's not actually killing himself. He's just, he's just going to use this to ascend to a higher plane of existence or whatever.
And I love the idea of Mbot as a Delver-like thing. Like, that's really cool.
Yeah.
No idea what's
So
going to
just-
happen. Like, I'm dig that a lot.
Yeah, so just for me, it was less like the reveal was less to the reader that Mbot's alive, because I thought that as a reader I was supposed to put this together, and this was just a reveal to Spencer. And I was a lot more angry with Chet, because the Chet's sacrifice did feel. I did say it before that I felt like Chet was my favorite character in this book, and so Chet being like, we only just got to know the real Chet, like the actual entity.
Yeah.
And now he's just being kicked out because we can't have a character go through more than one book in this series that's not Spencer or Mbot. So I was really annoyed that we got this cool, we got this cool and interesting character that's like something that, we haven't seen in this series before, like an actual Delver. And I was like, think of, how cool would it be when Spencer turns up with a Delver body? That's gonna blow everyone's minds back on the Tritus, and then he just we can't have that here. First he gets reset, and then when he actually came back in the light burst, I was just, yes, we are getting Chet back, and then Spencer ate him. So I was really annoyed at Chet.
I do really hope in Defiant that Chet is not just completely gone and Spencer just now has Delver abilities. Like, I'm with you there that it would. Yeah. I would be grumpy if Chet's just gone.
Like, I want some internal dialogue between those two. Like, if Chet was totally gone, I would definitely be upset. I'm still kind of confused how any of that's gonna work in practice. So I guess I'll find out. But I can understand where you're coming from there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that last chapter did not leave me very hopeful for Chet in the future.
Can I just say I've had this great vision of something Mbot could do in the next book as a Delver, because we learned that he's really bad at piloting, actually, which I loved that scene where he's just like, oh yeah, I finally get to pilot. I'm immediately awful at this. Amazing. Now just imagine Mbot manifests into the somewhere as a Delver and is just as bad flying.
This is actually something I've been wanting to bring up, because Mbot's body, like his ship, was destroyed, right? Which is very sad. If he manifests into somewhere, like he's going to manifest like as his ship.
Yeah, I guess that's true, and not
because like that is his body. It's like that's how we can bring that back. Spencer can pilot Mbot again.
That is a really cool way to do that. That would be really cool.
Now I'm just. Okay, yeah, I didn't put that together. It's like Spencer, kind of a Delver. Mbot, also kind of a Delver. And like, what that would be like? So, like, would it be the same size ship, or would it be like an enormous ship? Like, I don't know.
I think he would have control. I think it would manifest as the same size ship. Like, I think he would have control over that.
Yeah.
Delvers, like, don't, because, like, they don't actually remember what their body was like.
I guess that's
because
true.
they deleted those memories.
Sure, right, okay. Yeah.
And they also want to be big and scary because, like, they're...
Right. I don't know. I love... I gotta say, this is all the appeal of watching the Cosmere Beefs episode, and just Brandon Beefs, of just watching people who feel really strongly about a thing. As I did complain about the Delvers. I do still think, even though the Delvers were still cool, and I'm glad that the corrupted Delver was Chet, like, I thought that was really interesting. I still think that Chet should have killed more people on Starsight. Just putting it out there. The one person who died didn't matter, which was also very funny to hear in the Cosmere Beefs episodes. Like, well, Hesho died, and I'm just here like, yeah. Mm-hmm. The Delver Chet should have... It's weird to call the Delver Chet. It's like, Chet should have killed way more people in Starsight. Just kill
the
him.
Delver who will become Chet.
Yeah. Chet should have killed way more. I'm still a bit annoyed about that it just feels like the stakes are lowered. That said, I'm still optimistic that Defiant will, one, have stakes. That'd be great. And two, that it's going to be pretty awesome, and that we will see characters from previous books. Just solidly like Jorgen. Jorgen confirmed, okay? But I would like to see characters from the previous books matter. I think that will help the series a lot, though it will be weird if Defiant goes back to, here are very high stakes again. I'm like, this series has some very weird tonal whiplash of just what the stakes are.
It will help with the novellas, though.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. I guess like my one worry in this regard is that we have this one, well, I guess we have several mysteries, but there is this outstanding mystery that keeps getting brought up, and that's the missing Earth.
Yes, I want some answers about that for sure, yeah.
I don't.
Okay.
I don't want, because I am perfectly fine leaving the missing Earth as just the background world building thing that is just there.
Okay.
Because I am worried that if we do end up focusing on the lost Earth in Defiant, then we're going to have less time to tie up all the plot threads that are already started.
That's fair.
So like my big worry for Defiant, like my wish for what I want to happen in Defiant is to see this, like, I don't know which one of you put it, like the Avengers Assemble moment.
Yes.
Of where everyone like pulls together and we actually like focus down on let's fight superiority. My one fear for Defiant is that instead it's going to be Spencer's adventures searching for lost Earth while everyone else does the fighting.
Oh yeah, that
See, I kind of see it as like I'm kind of expecting Old Earth to be the thing that ties everything together, and it's not necessarily like the adventures to go find it and explore it, but more it is the pin in the middle of everything, and that's where the ending takes place, maybe.
Where the action is, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess
and like there's something about Old Earth that ties this together, that like puts all of the mystery and makes it like the mystery of the Delvers and like a way to defeat the superiority. I feel like it's all tied into Old Earth.
I hope so. Like ideally we would get like the solution to Old Earth that will be like a natural part of the whole war against superiority. But like if I were to choose between story of fighting superiority and story of finding lost Earth, and if we couldn't like marry those into one coherent story, then I would very much prefer to keep the lost Earth a mystery. That's just part of the setting.
It's like in To Sleep in a Sea of Stars. Like at one point they have to go to this far off place to find this scepter, and it kind of just feels like this really random side thing that they have to do, and then they just go back and continue on with what they were doing before, and it didn't matter. And like, I would worry about something like that, which I think is similar to what you're saying, Rasarr. Like, I don't want it to overshadow the whole book. That wouldn't be fun.
I guess for me, the difference is between like how important the mystery is for like the greater narrative of the universe versus the here and now. Because like the thing about the Path of Elders is it has like profound implications for the history of this universe.
Yes.
But it doesn't really feel that it's immediately important for the current superiority problem. And that is my issue is that, okay, it's interesting. The whole like mysteries of the universe are fascinating, but we have this clear and present danger that I feel like it should not be overshadowed because, we started this series focusing on clear and present danger.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I can definitely imagine like that, like Old Earth is just like where the ending takes place, and like there are some scenes there. I wouldn't want it to be a large side quest because the book has a lot to do. It's just kind of interesting because every book and kind of every novella is centered around a place, kind of. Right? And Defiant is sort of the most broad one where like I don't like there's a lot of threads, but I don't know how it will come together at all, really. Like there's just a lot of stuff and I don't know how you make a coherent story out of it. So I can see Old Earth being an aspect or even an important aspect of it. I really, really want an Avengers Assemble moment where we see a lot of characters coming together. That maybe is another thing that I'm still a little salty about Starsight, where it's like, oh, and then we're going to get the fight with, Spence's new crew and her old crew. No, not at all. It's just like, we're not going to talk about them at all. Also, Jorgen's in the center of the planet, or not the center of the planet. You know what I'm talking about. Underground. So I do want that moment in Defiant, because like clearly we weren't getting it, and Brandon is probably like intentionally being like, okay, we're not getting it now, but presumably the rest of the series, like the end of the series, we will have that moment. I feel that's important, and we were never going to get that in this book, ever.
Something that we did get in this book, which I can't believe we got in this book, is the scene where Spencer is teaching Cutlass Flight different maneuvers, so therefore we got flight school number 3. We have to get one in book 4 now. Brandon has to give us
That's a promise.
It's gone from like, oh my god, I can't believe he gave us that, to no, you have to complete this.
That's
now.
the number one. That's the one thing that's been consistent in all of these books.
And you know what I would like to, like, with the flight school, like, if we were to get an Avengers Assemble moment, I don't want it to be at the end of the series, where like everyone suddenly just pops in the last 10% of the book. What I would like is like if, for example, if we are going to be doing something as a team, then I'd like for it to be a team that's comprised of, say, Hesho, Moriumur, Kimalin, and Jorgen, and maybe someone from the new crew.
Sure.
They don't just come all together at the end of the team.
Yeah, and Moriumur is the one person that can't be in that because Moriumur is currently a baby.
Yeah, that's why I was always like, am I ever gonna see Moriumur again? But I'd like there to be a way for that to work somehow.
For the flight school segment of that book, we could have the free flights learning to fly together.
Yeah. Or we can have Spencer teaching Mbot as a Delver to fly, which I would also be very excited about.
Finally, the Delver flight school we wanted.
Yeah, and if it's Mbot, but like that, honestly, that could actually really work because like Mbot hasn't been able to fly his own ship. Okay, we got some of that in Cytonic. He was really bad at it, so I'd like to see him be good at it, by the end. Like, I think that could maybe work.
Maybe. I do want to make a Cosmere reference.
Okay.
We make fun of Kaladin.
Yes.
We're making new squads wherever he goes.
Yes. Which
makes me think Bensa would make at least an adequate Windrunner.
I had like when I finished the book, I remember I had a thought about like Kaladin comparison, and not just because of the squad, but I'm going to have to dip into a bit of a rhythm of war there for a minute.
Okay, all right. I'll just label this. I'll just put something on screen and it'll be a chapter. That's fine.
Yeah.
If you're watching the audio, just read it in the description where you need to skip to if you want.
Yeah, because there's this small thread in Rhythm of War about Kaladin feeling like he likes fighting, but he doesn't like the dying.
Right?
Yeah.
It really feels like Spencer has the same arc of she likes Starfighter fighting, but she doesn't like the killing that comes with it. And it's kind of weird that just Brandon within a year of each other released 2 books whose main protagonists have the same plots, the same character arc, not fumble thing.
Presumably that might just be because it's kind of on his mind, and it's this is a different way to explore a similar thing, but I can see why it's that's interesting that it's similar.
It's similar, but it still feels fresh and new. It's not it's Brandon's doing this again. It's just he's exploring the same thing with a new character. It's I really liked that it shared that story juice. It's
not like the resurrection trope where he does, or the dead wife trope. It's just, if I had a nickel for every time a character in the Brandon story, thinks about how they like fighting but not killing, I would only have 2 nickels, but it's weird that it happened twice.
I mean, yeah, it also helps that Spencer doesn't have the I must protect everyone dial turned up to 11. That isn't a core aspect of it, you know?
They're similar characters, but they're not the same.
Yeah.
They do have similarities, and these are the similarities.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And how they respond to the same core issue in different ways because they are different characters.
Yep.
So no longer Cosmere stuff. That somehow reminds me of 2 moments I found completely hilarious, which was the Lion King retelling, and it was really funny.
So cute.
And also Spencer thinking Satan's the hero of
I love that.
That was amazing. It's obviously he's the protagonist. And Embot's I don't know about that.
Spencer the Satanist. I love it.
Oh man, that was hilarious. But that makes sense if centuries away, if you don't have the texts anymore, it's just these hints of these things. You would totally take certain things as stories.
But also, I think that's mostly just Spencer.
That's probably true. Yeah. Probably Grand knows what's up there, and Spencer doesn't.
Yeah. And I feel both Embot and Chet realize that's not quite how that went.
But so there were good moments, and I did enjoy the book moving through. I had a tough time ranking this against Starsight because I think Skyward's still my favorite by far, no question in my mind. I don't know if anyone else feels similarly.
I have not read Skyward and Starsight recently enough to do an adequate comparison.
Yeah,
I liked them all.
I liked, like I said at the very beginning of this, I liked Cytonic more than Starsight, but less than Skyward.
Skyward is my favorite Brandon book ever. Cytonic is my least favorite Brandon book ever. And it's just so funny that they're a book away from each other. And Starsight's I don't know, somewhere in between.
It's tough because I really love Starsight for 90 to 95% of the time, and then it totally falls off a cliff and I hate it. Whereas Cytonic, I'm I didn't enjoy it as much, but I'm having fun all through this, and that's good. And then the ending was great. So how do these average? I don't know. Maybe Cytonic over Starsight, but it's hard to say. I'm still
I would probably lean towards Cytonic being above Starsight, definitely. Where it ranks with Skyward, I don't know, because I really like getting into the mysticism.
That was really cool. The world part of it was
the part
great.
of the Force I really like.
Yeah.
Of the Force.
Yeah, right. Yeah, and that was really well done here for sure. That was the best part of the book, I felt, and the Delver stuff. It also, I think, helps that Starsight telegraphs to the reader Spensa is going somewhere else, and that helps. I never expected the other characters to really appear. I was really happy to get the Jorgen interludes. Well, not Jorgen interludes, but like interludes with Jorgen and getting that interaction, because I honestly didn't think we were going to get anything like that. But then I'm like, oh, right, we have communication across the galaxy. That makes sense. So to me, Cytonic set expectations better, whereas Skyward doesn't have that same expectation. Like, if you're really liking the crew, it's just like, I mean, there is a greater universe, but not that, hey, we're going to leave everyone behind and go somewhere else, right?
It was very interesting that when Spencer slept in the belt, her mind seemed to go into the light burst. And because that's how she was able to contact Jorgen, right? Like, she couldn't do that from the belt. It had to be in like the more non-corporal space. And that was very interesting.
Yeah.
Other interesting thing with the light burst is that people losing their memories didn't happen before the Delvers wiped their own memories and then multiplied themselves and went into the light burst.
The
That's
magic
really
mechanic. The mechanic stuff is so interesting and weird, and I don't think we're going to get a lot of answers, but it's very cool.
I am fine with leaving this one to space magic.
Same. But
I do think it's going to get an answer because, like, it was specifically addressed. It's like that didn't happen before, so it's
I guess
it's
that's
a
true.
new thing.
If we are speaking of like the Spensa interludes and the dreams, I feel like it's telling that we are yet to talk about Braid and Winzik.
That's true. Yeah, that did happen.
Because like this book has really reaffirmed my feeling like Braid and Winzik are not very interesting antagonists. Like,
I see where you're going with this. Right? Yeah.
Because Winzik, like, the thing about Winzik was that he felt somewhat threatening to me in Starsight because he was this important official who felt like he was like an inch from discovering who Spensa was. Whereas in Cytonic definitely like gives me the feeling that, because Braid, I'm going to be plain here. Braid's plan seems incredibly stupid.
Remind me what Braid's plan was.
That's okay. Let me reiterate it to you.
Yeah, thank you.
Braid. So in order to get what she wants, which we still don't know what her motivations are beyond just, I am fine being seen by what I am. I am not like one of the other humans. I don't want to be part of the human civilization, which seems to be Braid's character. Braid seems to be like on board with whatever Winzik is doing, and she wants to like enable Winzik, and Winzik wants to take control of superiority by the means of Delvers, and he promises them that he's going to wipe out all the Cytonics once he's in charge. Which means that either he intends to pull one over the Delvers and don't actually wipe out Cytonics, which, you still have not found out how to banish Delvers, so good job, buddy.
Good luck with that.
And or he actually wants to go along with wiping out Cytonics, which would, again, cripple their civilization, and also Braid is an idiot for going along because, hey, guess who you are? A Cytonic.
And Braid knows this because Braid is the one facilitating this in the first place.
I'm sorry, I have to... Can if I may just finish this little rant because it's been brewing a bit.
Okay.
And Braid is just... And Winzik in Cytonic is just not very effective as a villain because I get the feeling that Braid has to have a smarter plan than just, throw yourself on the pyre of Winzik's plans to superiority, which means that it feels like she's playing him, which means that he has like... Braid is an antagonist with no clear motivation, and Winzik is an antagonist who is manipulated by an antagonist with no clear motivation, and they just both are kind of there. And I am a bit... And also Braid is coming across as just evil Spensa in those scenes. Because whatever powers...
stereotypical evil.
Yeah, whatever power Spensa has, Braid seems to come up with a way to either replicate it or, resist it, like the way she trapped Spencer to control her communication abilities, etc. And I have a feeling that we're going to end up with some sort of Marvel movie kind of creme where the final fight is just two people with identical abilities fighting each other.
Yeah.
Because I will bet you.
That's very plausible, though.
Because the only way Braid's plan is going to work, in my opinion, is if she ends up bonding a Delver the same way.
That's just what I was thinking. Yes. Oh, this is scarily plausible.
Yeah.
So
I do have a few responses.
Okay.
Sorry.
If you're done.
Yeah, I am done. I apologize. I kind of went on off there.
That's okay.
One is like it won't actually cripple their civilization because they can just use the slugs.
Oh, true. Good point.
But also it's like you did an either or, and I don't think either option is actually what's going on, which is Winzik will wipe out the vast majority of Cytonics, except for the one that works for him. Because if she's the only Cytonic around, like that is a huge amount of power. And like then he'll just work on like hiding her or like renegotiating with the like, oh well, like we need this one to make sure that no others pop up. That sort of thing.
Yeah, sure. Which is
So it's like I don't think Braid's going along like willingly to her death. I think she's in on plan. It's like she's not going to die because of this plan.
Sure,
and she knows that.
Yeah, those are some very good points. When Alla was talking, I was just like, I don't know if you guys watch Pitch Meetings, which is an excellent series on YouTube, but basically there's points where it's like, oh, what's that villain's deal? And it's like, he's evil. And like Winzik definitely exudes some of that. He is a little more interesting, like taking control over the superiority and stuff like, that's believable enough. But in Cytonic, he's just like, he's evil and he's the bad guy.
So like, my main problem with this like duo of evilness is Braid. Because I get it that she is traumatized by the fact that she was raised by superiority and she just drank the aggressiveness Kool-Aid, etc. But Braid has the capacity to end this entire plot right here and now.
It's true. It is true.
It would be so easy. Winzik's plan works purely and entirely because Braid has decided that she absolutely refuses to interact with her species.
And I think like the fact that they have this whole idea of what humans are like and they're really aggressive and all of this, and Braid is just everything that they said, and like the entire stereotype that they see as humans is exactly what Braid is, which is why I don't find her very interesting. Because Spencer's aggressive, but she's not just aggressive. There's more to her than aggressive and evil, and Braid is just aggressive and evil. I
wish Alex or Shannon would be there because for this, because they both really like Braid. Don't know what Shannon feels about Braid right now, but all I know is that Shannon really hates Chet, and that's mostly what I know about Shannon's feels. But yeah.
Just to talk about the other side of this deal and like the Delvers, I think they made a terrible deal, and I honestly don't understand why they said yes to this, because they can just go wipe out Cytonics themselves. Why do they need someone else to do it for them? And because they're going into the somewhere either way, right? Like if they make this deal, they have to go into the somewhere. If they don't make the deal, they can just go into the somewhere and destroy the Cytonics and then go back to the nowhere. And like it's exactly the same, except in this way, they've tied themselves to someone who will definitely betray them and isn't really giving them anything helpful at all. So I don't really understand why the Delvers said yes, except for the fact that Delvers aren't good at thinking in the individuality and making decisions. That's the only reason that I can see that they made this dumb deal.
Yeah, it did feel very weird as I was reading. It's like, what? I thought the whole, I mean, obviously in this book it's like, oh, now the Delvers know that people are people and they just don't care, right? But it does just, I thought they were a bit more unknowable that you couldn't just talk to them and make a deal. But Okay, sure, I guess. That was a little odd. That is weird, Jess. I don't know why they would do that.
I just think that that was dumb.
Yeah, it's like, I think the end of Starsight where Spencer did make that connection, like, kind of forced the Delvers to not be the unknowable eldritch horror that we kind of thought they were.
Sure, okay.
Otherwise, it's like Spencer couldn't have done what she could do, what she did, rather.
Right.
So it's like, because Spencer could do what she did, like, Winsick and Braid can do this.
Yeah, okay.
Just from, like, a story perspective. But also, I get the feeling that, well, Delvers aren't good at dealing with anything. Like, they
really sounds
their
like
whole
that.
kind of raison d'etre was like, I'm sad. Ooh, the solution: forget everything. Like, make 1 million copies of myself and just like ignore everything else. So like pawning off like the dealing with Cytonics to someone else like does seem kind of in character for them. It's just like, we don't want to deal with like murdering all of those people. It's just like you do that, like we're just gonna like stay in our little bubble of non-linear, everything is happening at once and we are all thinking the same thoughts at the same time, even though we're not a hive mind, which was a very interesting point.
I did like that. That was very cool.
Yeah.
I found it very confusing.
I can understand
I found it
that.
confusing in a good way. Because it's just like, I don't know how that works, but it seems cool.
Yeah, that was kind of me as well. It's like, I don't understand how this works, so I'm just not going to think about it too much and just accept it as it is.
Okay. Can I just say Cytoverse with Delvers getting therapy? That's true, though.
Well, we see that in the difference between, like, with Mbot, right? Like, Mbot's had all this time and these people to support him while he learns emotions. And it means that, like, it shows the difference between what can happen if you have that support or not.
Yeah, that's
he doesn't
a good point.
become a Delver that deletes himself.
Yeah.
And we also kind of see that with Chet, where journeying with Spencer and Spencer's whole like conversation in Starsight like is his therapy. Basically.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, and he's struggling with that a lot. Yeah.
So what we're saying is the journey matters more than the destination. And the Delver was just like,
it's reversed.
Like the wife Delver was just at the destination. She got none of the journey.
To bring up another thing I really like that kind of touches on like Winsick being super evil is the Varvax among the pirates.
Yes.
Where Spencer has this whole thing where like she doesn't trust her. And then she realizes like actually she's just kind of a decent person. And they have the conversation of like, hey, like I really distrusted you because like your people imprisoned my people. And the Varvax was like, thank you for telling me that. It's like, you are a very mature person. Like, I don't know if I would have done the same. I just really liked that scene.
I loved that scene. Yeah, like the stuff with the pirates was really good. Like, that was great. I really enjoyed that. Just like Spencer learning about those other cultures much more.
I like that she was just like not even a middle manager. She was just the person who sat in the back room and crunched the numbers, and that's all she wanted to be.
And she just wanted to help as well.
Yeah. And it was just a very interesting, I guess, profession for her to start with instead of something more government-based militaristic, which I think is a little bit more what we've seen the Varvax do so far. It was just quite a difference.
Yeah, I liked that a lot. And I loved the Tanasi trees and stuff. Like that was all great.
Those were really
like
cool.
At the end of the day, the whole like Skyward series seems to be about learning that we can all get along. Yeah. Because like every book is about Spencer learning to get along with more groups of people.
Yeah.
So I guess like at the end of the day, Delvers couldn't be those unknowable eldritch entities because the whole series is about understanding and an unknowable entity is not really conducive to that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Like, I could definitely imagine some sort of conflict in the last book to, like, really, like, truly solve the Delver issue, and Spencer needs to really delve in there. I still don't really know why they're called Delvers, honestly.
Yeah, that's
Cool
weird.
name.
Sure.
I think that's about it.
Yeah.
Brandon liked the name.
Yeah. But, like, actually, like, convince the Delvers of something. I don't know. But also, yes, all the species can get along, and that's why we need the Avengers Assemble moment in the next book. So all coming join up. Let's go. We got stuff to do and fight these enemies. I will expect that we both fight superiority and multiple Delvers, probably. Like that seems pretty likely.
Of course we will. We have to fight the braids merged with a Delver.
Yeah. We at least need, the Delver needs to be in the fight, and then one needs to merge with Braid. Right, easy.
Yeah, we need our Marvel battle.
Look, it's only a meme with Marvel because they keep doing it over and over. Like, each individual time in a vacuum, it's like, okay, that's fine. I don't know. So it could be fine. Brandon might not even do that. I don't really know where Braid's going either, though, honestly.
Yeah, she's just as villains. Those two fell so flat for me in this book.
Yeah, I think it will help to have them be more in the forefront because, like, again, we only see such tiny snippets of them, right? And they're not really a big force in the book. And so that's another problem, is that we're not dealing with them very much, right?
Yeah.
Cool. Any other final thoughts on Cytonic?
Kind of touched on this. Like, people who are living archetypes is a trope that I really love. So Chet was really cool.
Right,
like, once we got like the reveal of what Chet
yeah.
actually was, it's like that was really cool to me. It's like, oh, like you're a living story, basically.
Yeah.
That's a trope I really love. I'm somewhat with Shannon, whereas like the specific archetype Chet chose, I'm like it's fine. I don't hate it. Not my favorite. Not the one I would have chosen.
I can understand why someone wouldn't like it.
Yeah.
I guess I am really hyped for Evershore after this ending. And I am thinking I am actually more hyped for Evershore than I was for Cytonic.
That's fair. We will definitely have an Evershore episode. Evershore, the third Skyward Flight novella, comes out on December 28th. We'll likely have our Evershore episode, like, we're not recording it that weekend, so it will take longer. We'll also probably do a full episode on that rather than the shorter read on and Sunrage episode. Shorter, but that will be a full episode. Because, you know, we'll talk about the novellas as a whole and how we thought about all of them. So that will we'll definitely get that out in January and things. But yeah, that's very understandable with Evershore. So
I'm also pretty excited for Evershore after reading the first two novellas and just knowing how it fits in with this, particularly with the fact that Detritus is around another planet at the end.
Yep.
And what's going on there?
Yeah.
But I did also want to mention, I have my own reviews of Cytonic available. There's a non-spoiler and a spoiler on my own personal channel, which is Jessie the Sleepy Koala.
What is my channel?
The channel name. If people wanted to hear any more of my thoughts.
I'll put a card on the upper right of the screen on YouTube. Whoa, how neat.
Oh, look at that.
Technology. I know. I'll link this.
They take so long to put on.
I think it's this direction. I don't know.
Yeah, a little further up, but yeah.
So if you're all pointing in different directions, then I'll just point here.
Yeah.
I have several videos where I've pointed in the completely wrong direction.
All I can say is that we're definitely not Delvers because we do not choose the same directions to go on this at all in any way. We have no idea what's what. It doesn't help that the casters have no idea where their location generally is on the overlay.
Well, I know I'm usually in the upper right.
Yeah.
And so now it was just like the mirroring.
Yeah,
Because
yep,
upper right is this way for me.
Right, exactly. Well, I think with that, we'll go on to who's that Cytoverse character. Oh, by the way, Cytoverse confirmed the official name. Very cool. You can all thank Grace because she's the person who did that and first let them know. So that is very cool. It's on official things according to the newsletter. Like, it's official. It's the Cytoverse.
It was on the banner.
It was on the banner.
Minicon.
Yeah, which is very cool. So gotta
Is it
love
on
that.
the new cover for Defending Elysium?
It is.
Oh, really?
Oh,
Oh,
nice.
nice. I hadn't seen that.
It has a subtitle like a Cytoverse novella or something like that.
Oh, nice. Oh, sweet.
That's awesome.
Fantastic. So cheers to Grace. Fantastic. So anyway, let's go on to who's that Cytoverse character.
This character is from Rasarr.
Menace. Tien.
Tom.
Braze.
Void in drag on a horse.
It's time for who's that Cosmere character. Caw. So welcome to who's that Cytoverse character. Normally it's who's that Cosmere character, of course. You send 5 clues in a character to wtcc at 17shard.com. I read each clue aloud, and these guys have a chance to guess who's that Cosmere or Cytoverse character. And Grace looked, there were no Cytoverse characters in the priority queue, so we're not getting that one. Let's start with this first one, sent by someone you might know. This one is sent by some person named Paleo. Oh, right, it's Paleo on the show. So
Good thing Paleo wasn't here.
That's true. This is apparently the only one that Grace found. Paleo, don't put the answer first before the clues. It's very distracting. I just want to say this character is, and then it's like, oh no. So clue 1: this character is working for the DDF.
Dubsy.
It's not them. I don't know who that is though.
It's the ground crew member who Paleo and I both really like.
I don't
Who
recognize
is like
that name
the
at all.
nicest person in Skyward who goes to get Spencer's helmet so she can have her helmet in the final battle and helps her into the broken ship.
I don't remember anything of that.
Neither do I.
One moment, please. Okay. So Jess, you are correct. That just is not the correct name. The name is Dorgo.
Oh.
So I had to go
I knew
check.
it started with D.
I had to just check. Yeah. So I think Marvin sent this long before you two had chatted about this because this was sent in November 2019.
Wow.
Was he even staff yet?
God, I don't even know anymore. Like 2019
I was staff and he was already staff then.
Yeah, okay, cool.
Okay.
What is time? I don't even know. Great, good job, Jess. That was probably a clue there. But 2, this character is not currently a Starship pilot. Clue 3, this character helps Spencer with her starship. And clue 4, this character chastises Spencer for being late. And clue 5, this character works with the ground crews. So there you go. Nice.
I think Paleo might have actually shown me this at some point.
Yeah, that is plausible. I wasn't that's why I was like, oh, this is so long ago. But when are we gonna do another who's that Cytoverse character? So there you go.
I mean,
One has
presumably on
actually
our
been read
ever
before
short.
as well.
Yeah.
And because I think that's why Paleo and I were talking about it.
Yeah. Well, rip. Enjoy the point. This next one is sent by our friend number 1 town fan.
Hey,
who
Cal.
sent
It's gonna be a slug.
yeah. Let's see. Well, actually, you are not correct because clue 1, this character is a human. Wow, not a slug.
Shock. Disbelief.
I know.
When was
Great.
this sent?
Huh?
When was this sent?
This week. Yeah, he
Okay,
just PMs
okay.
me things. He's like, hey,
great.
do you guys need a who's that Cytoverse character? I'm like, I don't know. I don't have access to the things. I have no idea. Yes, Ian?
Great.
It's not Braid.
It's my guess.
Maxim.
It's not Maxim.
Jorgen?
It's not Jorgen. Clue 2. This character is a member of the DDF.
Rig?
General Ironsides.
No and no.
Or Admiral.
No.
Whatever
Yeah.
she is.
Well, Admiral.
Yeshua Wait.
It's not Yeshua. Wait. Clue 3. This character was tricked.
Cobb?
It's not Cobb.
Spencer.
It's not Spencer.
I almost guessed Spencer, so thank you. Rig?
It's not Rig. I feel like Rig was already guessed. I'm not sure.
I guessed it for the last clue.
Oh, okay. Well, rip. Clue 4. This character died in battle, but was not killed by Krell.
Hurl?
It's not Hurl.
Or whatever.
It's the ground, really. Oh.
Yeah.
Magna, aka I think it's Morning Star?
Morning Tide.
Morning Tide.
No, it's not.
I knew it
it's not
started with the
Morning
morning. I'm like,
That
Morning
is fair.
Star.
Tide. Yeah. Nope.
Which I actually think is the title of Lucifer, aka Satan.
Spencer loves them.
So
Spencer loves Satan.
The
confirmed.
hero of the story.
Yes, the hero.
exactly.
Who died that wasn't killed by the Krell? What counts as Krell? Is Krell superiority or is Krell Valvax in this case?
Or is Krell just the Krell?
Oh, Chaser.
Yes, it's our good friend Z Nightshade. Yes. Clue 5 was this character is a Cytonic. Good old Z Nightshade. I loved, by the way, that Jessie, the co-author of the novellas, hangs out in Discord, and we told her that Spencer's mom doesn't have a name, and she's like, "No, I would have put it in the novellas if I had known, but they're already turned in. I can't do it." So if we ever get more, I assume we'll get Spencer's mom's name.
We are getting more Cytoverse novellas.
It sure seems like it, because Brandon said in his weekly update that it's like, well, I did outlines with Jessie, so I mean,
and like they did announce it at the minicon.
Oh, nice. Cool.
Jessie and Darcy Cole.
Oh, right.
writing.
Yep. Yeah, that
Kimberlin book. Kimberlin book.
Kimberlin
book.
Kimberlin.
Please.
Figment book.
I want a Hesho book.
I mean, we can have both. This isn't an
Yes,
either
we can
or.
get all of the things. Hopefully.
We
Hesho.
can. No, not a Hesho book.
I
No
love a
Hesho
Hesho
books.
I want Hesho book. Though admittedly, a Vapor book would have a very easy cover.
It's not the Oh, that's good. That's solid.
But what if the Hesho book redeems Hesho in your eyes? What if it fixes every issue you have?
Look, knowing that Brandon saved the Delvers after Starsight, I do believe it is possible, but we would have to see.
Jess is like, I'll put on my skeptical face here.
I won't discount it out the door. I will remain open to the idea.
Yeah. But Defiant should be good. I think the plan is for that to come out next fall. No, not next fall. The following spring.
Yeah.
Because Lost Metal's going to, in theory, come out next fall. Next November, presumably. But.
So spring 2023?
Yeah. Are you confused by fall and spring here, Jess? Southern Hemisphere.
Please help.
To be
Start
fair,
of the year 2023. First half of 2023.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Probably like March,
First
April.
quarter.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I'm with you now.
Just like spring, what is spring? I'm from Australia. Things are topsy-turvy. Great. Well, we hope you enjoyed this episode. Put your comments below on what you felt was Cytonic. I know there have been people I've seen who just like, this is one of my favorite Brandon books, and they're like, I liked that it wasn't as tense and it was more light and fun and things. So I was like, cool. I put your comments below, because otherwise YouTube's not going to recommend this.
Yeah.
So you comment below if you made it here. So that's what I'd say.
Also, it is really good that people like this book. The fact that there are people who absolutely love this book is really good. And it means that Brandon has hit his mark for at least part of his audience. Whereas if everybody hated it, then that would be terrible. Nobody wants that to happen.
Yeah, and
so even though like I don't like the book, I am very, very pleased that there are a lot of people that do like the book, because that is what we want. That is what is good for Brandon.
I think, Jess, you never would have loved this book, no matter how well it was executed, because it doesn't have the previous characters and stuff, and that's what you really like, right? Yeah. So it was actually on the release stream, it was a bit sad to hear how discouraged Brandon got, because he's like, wrote Cytonic, and he's like, oh, it's really good. And then his editor's like, I don't really like it. Then the alpha's like, I didn't really like it. Beta's like, I don't really like it. So I'm glad it is good. Like, I do think it is good. I think the problems Jess has are baked into the premise, so you never could have liked it, you know?
Yeah, it really goes back to Skyward and like what promises you thought Brandon was making.
Yeah.
Because like I picked up on the promises Brandon was intending to make. Jessie picked up on the ones he wasn't intending on to make.
Right.
Which like neither of us are wrong. Like, because like books, like readers have as much input into books as writers do.
Yeah. It's just one was intentional and the other Brandon didn't mean to do, but now has to deal with the consequences, where people are in that camp of expecting things that he's not going to give.
Yep.
And that's where the novellas come in, and like the novellas make everything so much better for me. Yeah. Because that is what I want.
Yeah. And like together, I think together, it's good. So read the novellas, because I think they're really good. And so that if you had issues similar to Jess, I think the novellas will help.
Yeah. And if you want to hear more about my issues, please check out my videos.
Like, comment, and subscribe. Oh, right. This is the outro. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. You can find us on 70shard.com for all your news, discussion, theories, and fun that you could ever want. You can join us in Discord and chat with us. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, SoundCloud. You can subscribe on YouTube, and you can leave a review on iTunes, which is the thing people can do, I guess. And we will see you all in January for Evershore. But our next episode will actually be a live streamed one on State of Sanderson. So stay tuned on the channel. We'll actually
Head Munching Day.
Yep, which is December 19th. That is a Sunday, so I am not sure if Brandon's going to put it earlier, because Sunday. Yeah. So we'll see. But we'll probably be doing our stream on that Sunday. Maybe not the same day if Brandon changes the day. But yeah. So we'll see you
and
all.
Hopefully he posts it not on the 19th. Hopefully he posts it before and not after.
Yeah, that is true. So we'll see you all for that next time.
Bye.
Bye.
Caw.